channel. Thanks for all the views for last week and questions that were asked. And I must say today's video actually does come from a whole lot of questions that I've been asked. So today I want to, the part of the journey that I want to talk about is what are all the things that I have to get finalized before leaving for the Netherlands. So there's quite a bit. Obviously there's some stuff this week. Today it is, a week from me arriving in the Netherlands. So time is getting very little and there's still quite a bit to do. But I'd like to take you through some of the activities that had to be done and completed before leaving South Africa. There are also some activities that still need to be completed, but which I can tackle once I am actually in the Netherlands, thanks to the internet. So the first thing I want to bring up, well, before I get there. So obviously, as mentioned last week, finding a position, getting a work permit, all that kind of stuff has to happen. But you also need to have a kind of understanding what your cost of living is going to be when relocating. So one of the things that I had to get done quite early on was to just get an understanding of the cost of living. So for that, I looked into a website called Numbeo. So they do cost of living comparisons. So you would put the city where you currently live in and the city where you plan on moving to, or the closest city available to where you're moving to and where you live. And it'll actually give you a comparison and it'll tell you what percentage higher or lower the new city is from where you are based on cost of living. So for me, going from basically Johannesburg to Den Bosch in the Netherlands, Den Bosch has an 82% higher cost of living than Kempton Park. Scary, I know. It is also broken down then in the different areas. Some things are more expensive, some the same, some are cheaper. So I looked at that. So I looked obviously at rent and rates, what I would have to pay for accommodation each month to get an understanding of that. Also transportation costs. Obviously I won't be using a car. Well, the plan is not to own a car in the Netherlands. But to make use of public transport, bicycle, walking, because there's no need to incur those costs. Where in South Africa, it's not necessary to incur the costs in South Africa. It's much more convenient. I did just recently complete 3 years of not having a car and just using scooter, Uber, and public transport. Then Wi-Fi, telephone, television. I say television, a lot of you would know that I actually don't own a television at the moment. So I don't really, my TV cost would be like streaming. But in the Netherlands, your Wi-Fi package is linked to your television package. So you would have like an all-in-one kind of package. And then also the costs of having a telephone, having the data for that. At that. Medical insurance. So medical insurance is compulsory in the Netherlands. So it's partly subsidized by government medical, but you still have to pay an amount. And that amount is anything, depending on how you build your medical insurance, but it is standard. If you go to different providers, it'll all be pretty much the same. It's standardized, so there aren't massive differences in the charge of it, but I'll do a video later on where I actually talk about the medical system in the Netherlands. And then the last thing I looked at was the cost of groceries. So that was quite intensive, where I took one of the most expensive grocers in the Netherlands, which is Albert Heijn. That's the Woolies equivalent, and build up a shopping basket online from that to get an understanding of what that potentially could cost me. Won't, because I don't buy all those groceries every month, and some of it was quite luxury items. But also I will do more on grocery shopping and the cost of that once I am in the Netherlands. Actually do like a grocery shop video. But so yeah, for cost of living, those are the things that I had to investigate to get an understanding. So the real understanding for that is, so once I received my offer, that I knew whether the offer was within the limits that I needed to earn to live in the Netherlands. You would think that it would just be a exchange rate increase, but it doesn't work that way. It's a little skewed. So the next thing I had to do, once I had received my offer, was then to submit the application for the work permit, which was done and approved then. And then I had to resign. I had to officially resign from my position in South Africa with effect of the day before I start in the Netherlands. So yeah, that was an action I had to do. That's actually something that was different to when I moved to Switzerland. There wasn't a requirement there for me to officially resign, even though there was a resignation in the system, but there was no actual official letter or email from me resigning. Then after that came a period where I had to submit various notifications. So firstly, I had a discussion with my domestic worker. I had to let her know that I was leaving and that she would have to find a new job. I informed my landlord that I was leaving and that he would need to find a new tenant. And then there are various other Wi-Fi provider, let them know, had to make some changes to my retirement annuity, cancel television license. It's not a bit of a process, it's quite straightforward, but to find the information is a bit tricky. Basically, there's a form you fill in, you take it to the police station, it gets certified, and then you send it off to SABC, and then hopefully they cancel your TV license. Now I say hopefully because I tried to do this when I moved to Switzerland and they just never cancelled it. And when I came back, I had a nice big bill that had racked up. And I'm sure there's a lot of people going, number one, you don't have a television. Why do you have a TV license? This is partly the reason, because it was never cancelled when I moved to Switzerland. And if you understand how it works, if you don't pay your TV license, they actually do take legal action. It starts going to the lawyers and the legal action that can get taken, blah, 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 blah. So at that stage, I just decided to just continue paying it because it's like 265. It's not a massive amount. But this time around, I did want to cancel it, see if I could get the process to work. I'll have to wait and see until May next year whether I get an email to say I have to renew my license. I'll know then whether it worked or not. But yeah, for now, I hope that it actually has worked. I haven't received the notification saying that it has been cancelled, so we'll have to wait and see. So those were the notifications I had to do. Then, even though the company arranges for movers, I still have to submit 3 quotes. So 3 moving companies that got appointed by the company. They came to see me, put quotes together, and then from that had to decide. And it's not straightforward with the quotes that it would be necessarily the middle quote or the cheaper quote, or I could look at it and decide which one I wanted to choose. And my selection was to go with Elliott, just because I found that their value add was better. The advice that they gave me and guidance I felt was better than the other, I'm going to say who the other moving companies were, but I preferred the way that they handled themselves and communicated. So you had to find movers. Along with having to find movers, I guess I could also discuss that quite a couple of months ago already, I started sorting out cupboards and taking things out, going through it from scratch, separating things that I want to take with, things that I don't want to take with, things that I can give away. So I started going through that process with clothing and kitchen gear and study, and just cleared out even though the company is paying for me to move, I don't necessarily want to move with things that I don't need or use, to keep it simple. The next area that had to get sorted out was my temporary accommodation in the Netherlands. So as mentioned last week, previously this was all arranged by the company that I was working for. This time it was something that I had to work on myself. So I had to go and find places to stay, and obviously with it being a month's temporary accommodation, you don't really want to stay in a hotel room for a whole month. So I was looking for more like a little studio apartment or Airbnb. I consulted my relocation agent that I'm working with in the Netherlands on this matter. They actually suggested that I look for temporary accommodation in Eindhoven. I think I explained this before, because in Eindhoven you can do your municipal registration on a temporary address, which you can't do in Den Bosch. So I struggled to find an apartment, and on the recommendation of the relocation agent, I actually looked into one of the hotels they called what's it called now again? Intel Arts Hotel, Eindhoven, and they actually have long-term studio apartments, especially for people relocating and needing long-term accommodation. And you're also able to register with their address. So not all addresses in Eindhoven are usable for registration on a temporary address. There's specific addresses that can be used for that. So yes, so my temporary accommodation was arranged, flight booked, so those steps were completed. Then in some notifications and information that I picked up, I knew that I would have to hand in my birth certificate when I did my municipal registration. And I wasn't stressed about it because my mom has my birth certificates. I was able to get those from her, but the immigration lawyer informed me that it has to be legalized and apostatized. It has to be an unabridged certificate. Now, because the certificate was issued in 1977, I had to get an abridged one that has both my parents' name on it and is basically legalized by the Department of Home Affairs here in South Africa, or DIRCO, here in South Africa. Which, if any of you have tried to get unabridged certificates for your kids, it can take a while, and the older you are, the longer it takes. So right now I'm waiting to get back my unabridged certificate, which they said could take up to 3 months. It's 4 weeks after I submitted the request for that. I'm hoping that it happens quickly, and then it will go to a agency who actually assists with the legalization of it. This is a bit of a cost. Seeing as I'm not in the country to manage that process, my only option really is to use an agency who will take care of it and post it to me, courier to me in the Netherlands. I don't have to submit the birth certificate at the initial time of registration with the municipality. I have up to 3 months to do that from the time of registration. So there is still a few months. I'm sure it will all be done in time. The legalization takes just about a month, 3 to 4 weeks, they say. So I'm sure it'll all get done in time. Pray with me for that one. Then the other thing that I had to do, which I actually did this week, was I went and handed in my passport. So the work permit is approved, but I still need travel documents. So they still have to stick a visa in my passport. So my passport went into the embassy this past week to get that done. Hopefully I will have my passport back by next Thursday so that I can travel on Saturday. No, hopefully, I believe I will have my passport back next Thursday so I can travel on Saturday. Then comes, which is basically the week lying ahead, is arranging farewells and saying goodbye to people. So ideally you would want to have like 1 or 2 big events. where everyone is, but it doesn't always work that way. People can't always get there. So I've had a couple of little meetings with people wanting to say goodbye over the last week, just catching up and then finding out what it is that is happening, and just saying bye. So that had to be arranged. And then one of the last things, I don't know if you guys can notice, hair color is a bit different. So this weekend I went and had my hair done, just the color changed a bit to be a bit more summery. But also, on the topic of being summery, I realized that obviously when I get off the plane in Amsterdam next week, I'm getting off in the summer, and my feet are still very wintry. So I made an appointment for a pedicure this weekend. So those are the things that I had to complete. There's still one or two things still outstanding. I need to update insurance. My car is going to go to my mom. My mom and my sister are going to be using my car while I finish paying it off. I didn't want to sell it. The idea was for them to use it, and I'll just continue paying it off. My phone, I'll also continue paying it off. I won't be paying that off at once. I'll just monthly still pay that off. And I think that is it. That's all the things that are still outstanding, other than the movers arriving on Friday, as packing up and me leaving. Well, before that, we also have to celebrate my brother's 40th on Friday, so they'll all be coming out to Kempton Park for the weekend, basically. So they'll all come see me off at the airport with some friends, and then then I guess these videos will be changing a little, because there'll be a bit more excitement of settling in and getting to know the new area that I'm going to live. So I hope this video was a bit interesting about what it is that needs to be sorted out, the activities that need to be done. I do have a little notebook that I keep up to date with everything. I don't think if I didn't write it down, I would probably go crazy. Which, for me is a necessity. So, as I say, I hope you guys found this interesting. Like, share, and subscribe. If you probably saw that last week my video was uploaded late. If you want to be notified when the videos are uploaded, please hit the notify bell once you've subscribed. And please take note that this process is a bit stressful, and between that and relying on internet connection and so on, there might be late uploads. The idea is for it to be Sundays, but if not, it'll be somewhere else in the week. Please don't hold me to it. If you're not sure, message me and I'll tell you when I expect to get it up and loaded. So yes, I hope you guys have a good week, and I'll see you again next week with me arriving in the Netherlands. Not arriving in the Netherlands, with me departing from South Africa and having my farewells. Have a good week. Cheers. Bye.